Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squad for boxing news and views from around the internet. And a heavyweight news mashup video today, starting with the Bulgarian contender Kubrat Pulev of Bulgaria, who according to ESPN is likely to face the Australian Mark Dubois on November 9th in a card in Fresno, California. So that date for November 9th has been penciled in on BoxRec for Kubrat Pulev for a week or so, and Dubois, who is 37 years old, has a record of 37 wins, 2 draws and also 2 losses. He is reportedly the opponent. And you may recall, you might be thinking, Mark Dubois, that name is familiar. He lost to David Haye back in 2016, was blasted out inside a round when Haye was on the comeback. Dubois, one of his comeback opponents. So for me, I look at this fight and go, well, it is really just to stay busy. You can't really look at it anything more than that. Kubrat Pulev is due a title shot on the IBF. The IBF has said he must get it by the end of May 2020. So this situation with Dubois, and I hope they don't come out sort of trying to spin the tale that no one was willing or able to fight Kubrat Pulev, that this was the best that they could get, because we have to look at it for what it is, and I hope they don't dress it up. Dubois is being brought in as an opponent. He'll give Kubrat Pulev some work, but ultimately Kubrat Pulev will be too good. And I don't necessarily think he will blast out Dubois in a round. He doesn't quite have some of that David Haye power, but I do think that Kubrat Pulev won't have too many issues beating Mark Dubois. This is just a stay busy fight to keep Kubrat Pulev in the ring rust at bay ahead of a title fight in 2020, because that is what is seemingly going to happen for Kubrat Pulev. When he gets that shot, well, the IBF has said it has to be before the end of May 2020. That is certainly a question, but we'll have to see where things go with the rematch with Ruiz Jr. and Anthony Joshua, because the winner may be forced into a position where they may have to drop a belt. Because if the IBF forces the issue, and they've already sort of put a ruling down, says Pulev has to get his shot by a certain date, well, that is going to cause maybe a few ructions, but time will sort of see all that sort of hash out and play out. To the next thing, Manuel Charr and Trevor Bryan, it looks like they are going to be fighting in Kinshasa in the Democratic Republic of Congo on November the 2nd, 2019. So Manuel Charr on his Instagram, you can see here, he says, it's on. 2nd of the 11th, 19 in Africa. Hashtag Kinshasa, hashtag Charr Bum May. I'm not sure what that hashtag's about, but he's got a letter here which is addressed to Don King. So it's from a month ago, actually, August the 24th. It details a few things about the fight being in the Democratic Republic of Congo in November the 2nd, 2019, yada, yada, yada. So I guess, the question is, what was the big delay here? Because they announced that these two were going to be fighting, months ago, and they had 20 days to come up with, the purse bid and all that sort of stuff. It never went there. They came to an agreement, and then it all went quiet for some time. And if you look at Trevor Bryan's Instagram page, this is from June 27th when he put up the promotional poster, "The Battle Begins, WBA Heavyweight World Championship Fall 2019. And it's going to be in November now. So, yeah, Don King's epic quest for peace. So it looks like that is going to be heading to Africa, into the Democratic Republic of Congo, back to Kinshasa. So that will be sort of a Rumble in the Jungle Part 2, I guess. And this will be one of these fights because Manuel Charr, the regular title holder, Trevor Bryan, the WBA interim world champion, I think it's got a little bit of interest for hardcores because, who knows how good either of these fighters is at this point in their career. Trevor Bryan, a bit of an unknown quantity, gifted that interim title status. Manuel Charr hasn't been in the ring for a couple of years. I think, his best years are well behind him, but we shall see on November the 2nd. Hopefully they will be broadcasting that one, because there has been some fights like Trevor Bryan's one for the world title against BJ Flores. Wasn't broadcast. So that kind of tells you everything. Moving on, Ruiz Jr. is saying that he is interested in unifying all the belts, and I sort of was not going to cover this, but I thought, well, I'll just quickly cover his comments. So he told Sky Sports, of course, I'm just missing one belt to be undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, and that's the goal, but I don't want to look past Anthony Joshua. I want to defeat him one more time because there's a lot of critics that say it's a lucky shot, that I'm going to lose. I'm using all the negative energy and to positive energy, so we're going to win. I don't want to look past Anthony Joshua. My eyes are on the prize, so after that, I win that fight, then I fight Deontay Wilder or Tyson Fury in the same team, so I think it will be good. And that's him saying him and Wilder. So unification, it seems to be this holy grail within the heavyweight division that we've been chasing in the past couple of years. Whenever anyone says that they're looking to become undisputed, I just have to sort of shake my head and sort of say to myself, yeah, right, because all the conditions and the factors right now sort of don't seem to be there for it to happen. Even though if he beats Anthony Joshua, they're in the same promotional stable, Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury are going to be locked up into their rematch, and as we've been hearing, there's going to be a third fight potentially in June 2020. So, all this talk of undisputed, I think, fool me once, shame on you, but I think, a lot of people are not going to be fooled into this talk of undisputed. It just seems to be this mythical far-off thing right now. I mean, there's a reason it's only happened, the last time it happened was basically 20 years ago. But moving on, Daniel Dubois thinks that he could beat Tyson Fury right now. And I think there's a number of people who would actually sort of agree with those sentiments, with Dubois being one of the best and hardest hitting prospects out in all of the heavyweight division right now. But they're not going to be loading up that fight right now, because that's the sort of thing that you sort of build towards over the course of a few years. And maybe in 18 months, 2 years' time, you could sort of start to work towards a big fight like that. But Dubois has to do more, has to have more experience right now. And I heard Frank Bruno sort of echoing some of the sentiments I've been saying in some recent videos, that Dubois, while he is a really good prospect and he could probably beat a lot of the top guys right now, giving him, all the adequate step-up fights and the experience gives him stuff to lean on when he has those big fights. But he says, I'm capable of beating Tyson Fury right now. I'm 100% confident in my ability. I'll beat anyone who steps in the ring with me. I only have one gear: seek and destroy, kill or be killed. That's Daniel Dubois. And it's probably, no coincidence that these sorts of comments come in his fight week with Ebenezer Tete. So that show very little buzz for it, because Tete is going to get blasted out in 1 or 2 rounds max, and that is for the Commonwealth title. But yeah, people are right, to be high on this guy and where he can go in the heavyweight division. But as in the heavyweight division, it's sort of hurry up and wait. They're not going to force this guy into the wrong fights at the wrong time. They're going to bring him along at a sort of, a pace that they're comfortable that he's learning on the job. He's only 22 after all. So I expect by the time he's 24 or 25, he will be competing for belts and he will be at the top end of the division. But, that's still a couple of years away. So, not to say that he can't compete now, because I think clearly we've seen you chucked him in with one of the better prospects in the heavyweight division, and Nathan Gorman, who was generally rated either in sort of the back end of the top 10 or even within the top 15 of the sort of best prospects running around. And Dubois did a number on him. But good things come to those who wait. And don't we know that in the heavyweight division? And just speaking of Nathan Gorman, he sort of made some comments reflecting on his loss to Dubois. Obviously, he hasn't got a fight scheduled, but he's looking to sort of start building back up. He says, it's not where you start in this game, it's where you end up. I went throwing a big bomb instead of doing what I'm best at, boxing and moving, using my skill set. I played into his hands, really, instead of boxing and moving and doing what I was best at by being awkward and making him miss and making him pay, but I played into his hands with a bit of a slugfest. And it was quite interesting because he was making a lot of comments in the lead up to that fight, saying he was going to do exactly that he was going to make it a war. He'd try to sort of drag Dubois into an uncomfortable fight and sort of get up there and really bang it out. And in my preview videos, I was sort of thinking and saying that I thought I expected that was just sort of, something he was saying, but he would fall back onto his boxing. But we didn't see that. He did go through with he wanted to slug it out with Dubois, and he came off second best, and that's probably an understatement. He didn't look good when he was just trying to brawl with Daniel Dubois. For a guy with the sort of height and reach disadvantages, he probably should have been relying on his boxing. But Nathan Gorman, he can come again. He's got some lessons to learn. But we also have to heap some of, what he did in the ring against Dubois on his team, because clearly that was a strategy that they were looking to employ. So I don't think Gorman can take all the sort of blame for that loss, because he was obviously being told, these are the things we want to see you doing in there. And they've obviously worked towards something of a game plan that they tried to implement. It just didn't come off, didn't work. What do you make of it all? Drop a comment, loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.